Hello and welcome to this short podcast on writing and submitting your TMA. In this podcast I'm just going to give you a few hints and tips about what to do in your TMA and how to present it. One of the first things to do is make sure you actually add your name to each page, and the simplest way of doing this is to insert it into the header of the document. So if we in Microsoft Office, so I'm looking at Microsoft Office 2013, but all versions from 2007 onwards are essentially the same. So in the top menu here, click on Insert and move across, and we want to insert a header. So it gives you various formats that you can use. So I'm actually going to use, for my header, a blank 3-column format. So it gives you 3 spaces where you can type things. Well, the first thing I'm going to put there is my name. Next one I'm going to put is my PI number. So let's just say it's called C1234567. And the final bit of information I'm going to add on here is the TMA number. So it's S104. Add 2012J TMA 01. So information similar to this, you can format it in different ways, but just make sure your name goes onto each sheet of paper. Another useful thing to do is to actually number the sheets. So again, if we actually click on Insert, and you can insert page number, and we want page numbers to be at the bottom of the page, and you can see here it gives you various formats. I'm just going to choose one of these at random, so I'm going to use the accent bar 3, and you see it's inserted a page number at the bottom of the document. So that's the template for the document set up. So on the top of each page I'm going to have my name and my PI and also the TMA number. So other things that are useful to do, make it clear which question you're actually answering. If you're answering question 1, just put question 1 and make it clear which parts of the question you're answering. So that's just set up simply like that. Lots of people need to actually do various things in their TMA. One of the most common things you'll need to do is insert subscripts and superscripts. So subscripts will often come up in things like chemical equations, where you have to type things like magnesium chloride, which is MgCl2, with the 2 is a subscript. Various ways of entering subscripts: you can click on the subscript in the bar at the top and just type 2, click off, turns off the subscript. So you can see that's appeared now as MgCl2. Alternative way of doing this, when you actually hover over a lot of the things in the ribbon, you will see it gives you shortcut commands on how to actually insert things. So hovering over the subscript tells me that the shortcut command for subscript is Control plus equals. So I can do this an alternative way: MgCl, press the Control plus equals keys and then add a 2, and then pressing the Control plus equals keys again turns off the subscript, and you can see MgCl2 has been inserted there. So a big hint is to add subscripts, just press the Control plus equals key together to turn subscripts on and off. So similarly, superscripts can be put in the same sort of way. So you're going to be commonly adding superscripts to various units. I want to put in meters per second squared. Again, you can just click on the superscript there, and per second squared, seconds to the -2, and that's now been inserted here. Alternatively, I can just use the keyboard shortcut, which is given when you actually hover over here. And it's something that you'll probably remember quite quickly, and it's Control Shift plus equals. So if I actually do MS Control Shift plus equals -2, you can see raised as a superscript. So other things you're going to need to do in TMAs is going to be inserting things like diagrams and also probably inserting hand-drawn graphs. So to insert diagrams, I don't like the drawing functions in Word. I prefer to draw things in PowerPoint. So what we've got here, we've got a diagram that I've actually drawn in PowerPoint, something related to book 1. And if you actually want to insert it in Word, we could just actually highlight it and copy everything. So just Control C to copy everything that's here. And then when we go to Word, if we right click, we can actually paste it as a picture. And this is the best way of actually doing that. So that's now just been pasted into your document as a picture. And I can resize that to any size I want and move it around the screen. So here you see we've actually just inserted the diagram and then resized it. So that's been added quite neatly there. Now just going to move down onto the next page, and what we're going to do now is we're going to actually insert a hand-drawn graph. So in TMA 02 you're probably going to be asked to draw a graph by hand, and the best way of actually inserting the graph is to take a picture of your graph and then insert the picture file. So what I've done is I've actually got a graph that's been drawn. I'm going to insert that from my computer. So if you actually take a picture on a phone or camera or something, save it to your computer, you can then insert your picture from using the insert menu. So I'm going to click on insert pictures from file. It's now going to ask me to select the file. I've actually saved something onto my desktop, so I click on desktop, and what we see here, there's something called graph.jpg. So it's a JPEG of a graph. Click on insert, and you can see my graph has been neatly inserted into the text. Make sure your tutor will be able to read the graph clearly. So what I'm going to do now is zoom in, and you can actually see just by zooming in on that graph, I can actually read everything that's there, so it's perfectly readable. Axes are labelled, and you notice this particular graph wouldn't have a title, so make sure any graphs that you use do have a title. However, you can see the axes are labelled clearly with the units in the approved format. So everything seems to be fine there, apart from this graph is actually lacking a title. So this essence of writing a TMA, make sure you put your name and PI on the top. Make sure all question parts are clearly labelled, and I've given you a few hints and tips on inserting things like subscripts and superscripts just using the keyboard. And I've made 2 further podcasts which you may have seen on using the Microsoft Word equation editor. And the final tip on pictures is when you actually click on a picture, click on format, you see you've got the option to compress pictures. So if you click on that, make sure you compress all of the pictures that you've actually inserted into your TMA. So screen format is fine, so good for web pages and projectors at 150 dots per inch. Pictures I put into the TMA have now been compressed, so they're not taking up too much space. Because sometimes photos can actually be quite large, file sizes several megabytes, and if they're compressed they go down to about 50 kilobytes or something like that, so the file size becomes much smaller and it takes much less time for you to upload your TMA. But do just quickly check that your tutor will be able to read everything within the document, and the quality here is actually fine. So that ends this short guide to writing TMAs. Good news is now students on this presentation, you can actually click on File and you can just click Save and give the document a name and save it in the standard docx format.